The first step to effective influential leadership is enlightening the mentee or the one you are leading to realize their inborn potential. Now, influence is more than just providing guidance and giving direction. Hi everyone, my name is Panashe Ndlovu and I'm your instructor for the entrepreneurship series. If you've been following this program from when we started, I'm really excited to have you here and to have you on this journey. I hope that it has been very beneficial for you, and I'm really excited to have you today, tonight, this morning, to dive deep into this question. How can one influence others as a leader? Influence is about meaningful engagement and supporting others, helping others to realize their capabilities by engaging in a mentorship and supportive role, right? And most importantly, articulating that whatever you are engaged in is not about you as the leader, but it is about them realizing this potential and applying their skills and viewpoints towards the realization of the broader common goal that you are working towards for the team, group, or organization. But before we can talk about influencing, how to influence others, sources of influence, sources of power, right? Let's talk about leadership a bit, right? What is leadership in the first place? What does it mean to be a leader? So the widely known definition of leadership is the ability to influence, right? But what is influence and how do you influence others? Right? Let's define leadership. Leadership is about helping others to realize their inherent value. And in order for you to help others realize their value, right, you need to cultivate compassion and listening. Right? So in today's session, we're going to dive deep really into how you can go about that, how you can influence others, how you can meaningfully engage others, and um, what helping others realize their value really entails, and how it looks like. Let's start from here. Leadership requires listening and compassion. What does it mean exactly? Now, if you can apply active listening, right, you can you can identify aptitudes, right? You can identify the things that your mentee is good at. Now, as you identify these things, point them out to your mentee and work together to help the mentee embrace a part of their identity or personality from which that attribute emanates. The goal here is to help the mentee see themselves, right? And I always like to use this example when I'm talking about this subject, right? Very interesting, very, very meaningful, and very, very important to me. One of the things that I like about myself is that once I start laughing, you won't be able to resist. I tell you, you won't be able to not join me, right? Or simply stop, or stop to smile, right? I'll just start laughing now. Okay, right. I hope that tickled you a little, right? So the important thing, right, is to be able to help the one you are leading, right, to enlighten them and to empower them to see their own innate value. the value that is within. That is the role that you have. That is your priority as a leader. This is the very first step to effectively influencing others. But while we are talking about active listening, and compassion, there's one thing that is very important for us to talk about and to acknowledge while we are on this subject, right? Um, your core identity. Because influence is about engaging others, meaningfully engaging others to shift their behaviors, to act in a certain way, and to challenge their thinking, to challenge their viewpoints, so that they can transform their way of thinking. Right? It's not brainwashing, right? That you go and say, guys, I've got this idea. I want you to buy into it, and you manipulate people, you lie to people, and see. But influencing is much more valuable than that. It's much more meaningful than that. And we're going to talk about what this entails exactly. And the very first step, before you can go out to lead others, before you can think about influencing others, right? You first of all need to look within and ask yourself this question: who am I? Right? And we're going to dive deeper into how exactly, why this is important for you to reflect on your core identity, right? As you think about ways in which you can influence others, right? Now, um, an interesting point of reflection, right? Something that you can reflect on, a point of reflection. Ask yourself that: what is my core identity? And you must remember always that who you are doesn't have to be determined by a single story. So your core identity is not about your story. Because if you can look back, right, if you can look back at perhaps a meaningful event, it can be a single event or multiple things, many things that influenced who you are today, you will realize that what this unique story that shaped your identity looked like in the past, and what it means right now, what it means for you, what it means while you were experiencing that, and what it means right now, two different paradigms. And what is it that we can take away from this? What we can take away is that even then, right, um, even as you do this reflection, right, and as you continue to look back, you will realize that you can't guarantee how your future self will be, because you don't know what experiences you're going to have. But what you can guarantee, right, what you can guarantee is how you evolve and respond. And this has got a lot to do with who you are. So reflect and let the different parts of your personality be and shine through. Be who you are, and being who you uniquely are will inspire others. And how so exactly? Well, when you let yourself be and let your unique identity flourish, it will remind others about themselves, a certain quirk that they have, right? And I always like to talk about the laughing example, right? I call it the laughing laughter, the way I laugh, because it's really funny. Because, when I start laughing, people always tell me that when you start to laugh, right, we always join in because we always start to, we always laugh at the way you'll be laughing. It feels like it's a renewed joke all together, right? So it can be something as simple, something, a quirk, a whim, something so little, something so small. That makes people to stop and to listen and to hear what you have to say. But keep in mind that this quirk that you have that captivates people, right, is not entirely, it's not just about you, but it is, the engagement, the connection that it enables you to have with other people, right? We're going to talk about a very important aspect, a very, very important aspect that you need to embrace as you start to think about the ways in which you can influence others. Because this looks different. The way in which the president of your country, for example, the way in which he influences others, and the way in which you can influence others as a leader in a different setting or a different entity or a different organization, they're totally two different things, you see. So this is very, very important for you to keep in mind that the way in which you influence others and the way in which others can influence others, two totally different things, right? So the important question here is that how can I be more attuned to the way in which I influence others, right? How can I be more attuned to that? So when you try to apply a method or a methodology, for example, right? Copy and paste, right? Copy and paste someone's style, someone's way of talking, someone's expressions, someone's style, the way in which they do things. But you're like, why is it? I'm doing it the same way in which he does it. I try to do everything right, but how is it not working for me? Why am I not as influential as they are, or why am I not as influential as he is or as she is? Right? So it's not about copying and pasting, following some formula, but it is really about you as the leader and thinking about the values that you have as a leader. Right? Talk about two important skills that you need to hone, right, as you embark on this journey of self-discovery and think about the ways in which you can influence others. Now, we're going to talk about vulnerability and open-mindedness. Now, when you embrace vulnerability and open-mindedness, you are able to realize who you truly are. Okay? And not the story that you tell yourself about who you are. These are two different things, you see. Who you really are and the story that you tell yourself, right, about who you are, they're two different things. Right? Now, when you limit yourself, right, to the story that you tell yourself based on the experiences that you've had, right, you're standing in the way of your own growth, you see. So it will be very, very difficult for you to be an active listener if you haven't come to embrace this vulnerability and open mindedness. So I can surely say, well, I am open minded, right? I take in different perspectives. I'm a great listener. I am this, I am that. But the question always is, right? Question, does that really reflect the internal state? It is only when you are vulnerable to yourself that, when you embrace all the different sides of you, and by that I mean the totality of the self that you are, if we can call it that, your strengths, what you're not so good at, and the quirks and whims, right? It is only when you have been vulnerable to yourself and embraced all of these things that you can actively listen, cultivate empathy, and lead with compassion. Now, these three things are very, very important: actively listening, cultivating empathy, and leading with compassion, right? Now, these three essentials will enable you to create the connections which will yield trust and build relationships. Okay. Now, before you, you can think about building a team, developing a team, right? You need to think about building relationships. You need to build relationships before you can build a team, right? So we're going to define a team, right? So a team, according to my own understanding, a team is a group of individuals performing complementary functions to realize a broader common goal, right? So you need to connect with the people behind the roles first, behind the titles first. And why is it important? Why are we talking about building relationships with the people behind the titles, with the people behind the functions, with the people behind the roles first, before you can build a team? Why is it important? Why can't you just say, well, I'm this skilled leader. I am so good at this. I'm a great leader. I've graduated in, I've got a degree in entrepreneurial leadership. I've done so many courses. I've got so many experiences. I can definitely set out to influence others. I don't need to be engaging with people, connecting with people, and embracing emotions and all of that, right? There are people who have got certain attitudes, right? And you will realize that you're probably asking yourself that, I've got so many qualifications. I'm so good at this. I'm so good at that. But why is it that I am unable to influence others? What is it that is keeping me stuck? Why is it that I'm failing? I can't graduate to the next level. I can't go to the next level. I'm failing to engage others. With influence, sometimes you don't have to do much. Just sit there, stand there, talk to people. Talk to people. What is it that people really care about? And people buy in. People are engaged. They feel a sense of shared ownership, a shared vision. And then you drive a common goal. Everyone rises up to the task. They say, well, I'm going to do this. 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 Let's do it, guys. You have now a movement. And this is the approach that you need, be it an organization, a company, whatever you have. This is an effective approach because at the end of the day, you're working towards a mission, right? A vision plan that you have, right? You've got broader goals set in place. So you need to cultivate this sense of ownership. And now we're going to talk about how you can cultivate this sense of ownership. You see. Right. Now, when you connect with people, connect with the individuals behind the titles, right? You are able to empower people, right, so that they are able to understand the ways in which the goal that they are working towards for the broad organization, the ways in which that is meaningful to them, right? So these relationships create a sense of ownership and connection towards the goal. And it is important for you as a leader to understand that your role is not to force this connection. That is not entirely necessary, you see. You create the conditions that motivate your members to discover that connection by themselves, and that's influence. That's how you influence others. That's how you influence your team. That is where your focus should be. Creating the conditions that motivate your members to discover that connection, the connection that they have towards the goal. And so working towards the goal is also a journey of self-discovery for these members, you see. And when it becomes this journey of self-discovery for these members, there is an investment that comes in, right? A sense of investment. I should invest in this project. I can invest my time. I can invest my energy into this project, into this goal, because it is personally meaningful for me, you see. I am growing by being a part of this team. I am growing by becoming a part of this organization. I am growing in so many ways, you see. And so this is a very, very important part of cultivating that influence, creating the conditions that enable members to realize that connection. The ways in which being a part of your organization will enable them to realize their personal goals. The ways in which it will enable them to grow, you see. Right. Now, let's go deep on these relationships, you see. Building on these relationships, right? Now, building on these relationships that you would have made, you can utilize the team framework. Now that you've built the relationships, you have now connected with your people, right? You can utilize the team framework, right? Now that you've built relationships, you build relationship first, then people rise up to tasks. If it is in a formal setup, if it is an entity, a company, or an organization, right? People rise up to the tasks, right? And when people rise up to the tasks, and even if you assign these tasks, right, there will be a sense of ownership. And now, when this sense of ownership is there, right, you can now have a team. Okay. Now, once you have these teams, right, what then becomes the function of this team? Well, the function of this team is to promote accountability, right? Accountability, effective monitoring, as well as evaluation, the evaluation of your progress towards the common goal. So these relationships really play an important role in developing organizational culture and group identity, right? Now, cultivating a community to which members strongly feel they are a part of, and clearly articulating what you are working towards and why it is important, right, will motivate members to develop a sense of connection to the organization, project, or goal. That also creates a sense of collective ownership and responsibility, which will motivate them to actively contribute towards the desired outcomes. Right. And this will even motivate them to think about the project outside the office, right, in a healthy way. Right. So let's take this scenario when a member approaches you with an idea that they've been having, team member. they come to you and they say, well, I've got this idea that we can do for our project. Where can we start, right? So when they come to you and express their enthusiasm, interest, and curiosity, right? When they express their interest, when they express their curiosity, when they express that, you need to show that you value their idea, you value that enthusiasm, you value that interest, you value that curiosity by embracing their idea. Why am I emphasizing so much on embracing their enthusiasm, embracing their interest, and embracing their curiosity? Because by doing that, you're going to show that you value the person first more than what they have to say. You see, so that is always important to show that you highly value the person. You highly value their enthusiasm. You highly value their interest. You highly value their curiosity. Right? And then when they come, even if you say, well, this idea is really not so possible for us because the budget is low, or this or that, or for one reason or the other, you can't implement that idea, right? But by embracing that enthusiasm, embracing that curiosity, embracing that interest, right? By embracing that, you motivate that team member to continue thinking out of the box, continue thinking out of the box, to continue thinking out of the box. And that is how you create a room for innovation, right? So show that you value their opinion by having an open and active conversation, right? And avoid conclusive and close-ended statements in those conversations when they come to you with their idea. So instead of saying no, right? Instead of saying no because you're not sure, right? Or saying yes, right? Saying yes because you're too excited about it, right? Instead of doing that, stay in that curiosity for a while. Stay in that curiosity. Stay with them in that curiosity. Stay with them. Allow that shared emotion, right? That shared interest, that shared enthusiasm, right? That shared curiosity. Tap into their enthusiasm, tap into their interest, and tap into their curiosity. Let it be shared and sit together. Wow, that sounds like an interesting idea. And by doing that, you are also showing that as a leader, you're not a know-it-all person. I've got it all figured out because I'm the leader here. I'm the boss here. Right? Because people come from different backgrounds, different perspectives, right? When you embrace all of those different perspectives, different backgrounds, different ideas, and you come to the table and you sit at one place, you will have a beautiful blended solution because you gather data from different sources. You have a very rich and profound way of seeing things as a group, right? And that is how you build collective intelligence. You are even better, well equipped at problem solving as a team. Now, so like I said before, like I said, uh, uh, leadership is not about I know it all. It is not about having it all figured out, right? I know it all, right? It's not about that, but it's being able to acknowledge that, hey, we don't know what to do here, right? Then we come to the drawing board together. We come to the drawing board and we say, right, what is it that we can do? With the information that we have, right? And you sit there and you start to brainstorm. So this vulnerability is important because it allows you to collect data and consider everything from different angles and viewpoints, enabling you to find a workable solution and positive alternatives. That being said, I would like to use this discussion, this point that we're talking about, to segue into decision making. This is how we now come to decision making. When you are vulnerable, when you have connected to people, established a common ground by embracing emotions, right? You can now embrace vulnerability as a team. You can embrace vulnerability as a team. And why is this vulnerability important? Because it catalyzes creativity. It stimulates creativity. It allows you to be more curious, to be more energetic. And you ask yourselves that, what is it that we don't know? What is it that we are missing out here? And it becomes a process, an interesting process of discovery, an interesting investigative process. And that process will enable you to find a workable solution and possible alternatives. Let's talk a bit about effective decision making for a bit. The effective leadership question is always about the decisive action that you take at critical and non-critical moments. Sometimes you may not have as much time to think long and hard about something. This is true because sometimes you'll be faced with a dilemma or a situation really that requires your attention, right? And that requires your immediate attention, your immediate resolve. And you ask yourself that, okay, what is it that we need to do? And I think that in most cases, well, when situations present themselves, it almost seems as if you don't have all the tools that you need, or all the information that you need, or all the things that you need to be able to solve this problem. It almost feels like you're not equipped for that problem. Look at when the coronavirus pandemic came in. It was a devastating era, really, at the time of the COVID-19 pandemic. And now we're slowly transitioning, but it was really a devastating time, right? And so it's almost as if problems and challenges will always come when we are not fully ready for them. And in some way, this is the nature of things, right? And even for you as the leader, for example, you might be in the team building stages, right? You are developing your team. Everything is supposed to be going well, or everything is going well, but somehow something just happens, or one of the team members is non-cooperative, or an external issue comes in. For example, I was talking about the COVID-19 pandemic just a short while ago, right? A certain problem or a challenge comes in. So, and when a problem comes in, of course, when a problem comes in, you need to make a decision about how you're going to respond to that situation, how you're going to resolve it. So here I've outlined a few steps, a few things that you can do for effective decision making, either when you need to solve a problem or when you have a number of choices from which you need to, choose what you need to do, right? So the first step here, is to gather the data, right? And when you gather the data, right, you then define the scope, right? You need to filter and eliminate what is out of scope. What is out of the scope of this problem? What things are this problem? Uh, you know, what things are being affected, right? What things are being affected by this problem? And even as you're gathering data, for example, think about the data that is relevant to the problem that you are solving. And as you're gathering this data and you put it in one place and you collect it and you have got the data, the information that you need in order to make a decision, right? You then analyze and evaluate the relevant data. You test with questions, right? And filtering, evaluating the relevant data, filtering, getting rid of the information that you don't need, or rather setting it aside. It allows you to avoid confusion. It allows you to focus on the things that are actually important, you see. So while you are having those discussions, allow everyone to make their input, right? To provide their input, to provide their contributions, and to say what it is that they think, right? And we're going to now, the most important thing about harnessing innovation, right? The most important thing that you need to know and understand, right? Now, the most important thing that you need to understand here, right, is that it's all about trust. Trust enables a team to function and to grow. So demonstrating that you trust your members, you trust your team members' capabilities, demonstrating that you trust your team members' capabilities and that you value their contribution, right? It will enable your team to grow. It will enable your team members to grow. So you need to emphasize that the ways, you need to emphasize now, this is very important, you need to emphasize the ways in which their input contributes to the realization of the broader goal. This acknowledgement or validation, is very, very important for the growth of your team, for the growth of your individual team members. And doing this will motivate them and create the space for creative thinking, right? So recognize the inherent value of the people you are leading and honor what they have to say, right? And another important thing to note again here is that growth also requires space, right? Supporting others to realize their capabilities is a great step. Supporting others, mentoring them, connecting with them emotionally, great step, great going. But giving them the space and opportunity to apply these ideas, to apply this potential, to apply these skills will enable them to cultivate and develop their skills. And so that's how you drive creativity and innovation in a team. Right. So as I was saying before in the beginning, that you may be in that space where you're asking yourself that why is it that I'm unable to inspire and to motivate my team? I've tried these steps from this website that I read, that I recently served, or this book that I read, but it's not working, right? Simply not working. Why? How am I going wrong, right? So here's another important and very, very important thing that you need to understand about influencing others. Your ability to influence others is not exactly in what you can do or what you are not doing, right? there's a great probability that, yeah, it might be in the things that you're doing or not doing, but the source of it, the source is within, right? The source is your potential. And what is your potential? What does it mean when someone says that you've got great potential, my friend, or how can I get to know, and someone asks that, how can I get to know my potential? Let's define potential. Your potential is what enables you to do what you can do. Right? This is the source of it. This is where it all comes from. And when you can understand yourself in this way, when you can understand that your potential is what enables you to do what you can do, be it leading others, be it waking up in the morning to do the things that you do, be it laughing, be it just about anything, really, just about anything, is your potential. That is the potential that we're talking about. That which enables you to do what you can do. Right. I want to talk briefly. I want to say something while we're talking about potential. So you have it already. I am not saying that you're right. No, that I'm not saying that your potential is going to come from another place, or it's going to come once you've learned something, or it's going to come from a different experience. No, I am saying that your potential is what enables you to do what you can do. Even as you were a child, as you were growing up and interacting with others, your potential was there already. The moment when you were born and the moment you came into this world, that's when your potential was born as well. From the moment you were born, you had capabilities, you had senses, all of these things. Right. And now when we talk about skills, when you talk about values, blah, 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 all of these things, when we talk about these things, when you talk about leadership now, it seems as if it's a myth. It seems as if it's something very complicated that you need to do. But when we say that your potential is what enables you to do what you can do, it means that you already have what you need to start influencing people today, to start leading today, to start making the impact that you want to make in the world, to make a difference that you want to make in the world, to start changing your community, to start working towards the goals that you have. There's no need for you to wait for an experience or to wait for something supernatural or anything. Well, not necessary. It's not necessary at all. There's no need for you to wait, because your potential is what enables you to do what you can do. And I'm telling you this, remember always that your potential is what enables you to do what you can do every day. And if this is something that you can say when you wake up in the morning and you look at the mirror and you look at yourself in the mirror, you look at your face in the mirror and you say to yourself, good morning. Your potential is what enables you to do what you can do. Right? Right? You're talking to your reflection. Now I would like for you to also talk to yourself. And you tell yourself that my potential is what enables me to do what I can do. They're simple things. And I'm telling you that if you can come to this space of understanding what your potential is and what it really means, you will grow. And this is where, from this space, you can also influence others. From this understanding that my potential. So you will realize that you don't need anything really. You don't need anything extra, additional, or advanced, or abridged. You don't need that really. Because you are complete as you are. Your potential is what enables you to do what you can do. It is there already and you have it. All you need to do is to know, to pay more attention. Pay more attention. Pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to the way in which you do things, the way in which you differently do things, right? If you like to add salt on a pineapple, and others like to add sugar on a pineapple, and others don't like to add anything on a pineapple, then it says something about you. Keep on doing that and pay attention to that. These things are the small quirks. The small quirks. Continue to reflect on that. Continue to reflect on the small things that interest you, the small things that make you who you are. These are the ways in which you can connect with others. Now we're going to talk about leveraging sources of power. And this is something that we had put highlights, that we're going to talk about the sources of power. Right. So let's talk about leveraging sources of power, right? Power is the ability to influence other individuals' behaviors and the ways in which things are done, right? And we talked about influence because power, right? Power is what enables you to influence. So it may be in the form of a platform and actual opportunities that enable you to drive a decision-making process. You can also use influence to develop power by earning respect and authority. Let me repeat this one. You can also use influence to develop power by earning respect and authority. By earning respect and authority. By earning respect and authority. This is a profound source of power. And now, Dr. J.A. Konga identifies this as establishing credibility. Dr. J.A. Konga is one of the leading authors in leadership development, in the leadership development industry, if I can call it that. And he identifies this as establishing credibility. Let's talk about earning respect and authority. Earning respect and authority is not about being feared by people, being known for something, being fancy, right? Or being different, really. Earning respect has got a lot to do with your conduct, how you present yourself. And now that which inspires people to listen when you speak is a source of authority to which a title can be attached as a mere formality. It's merely, right, merely a formality, really. Let me repeat this one. That which inspires people to listen when you speak is a source of authority to which a title can be attached as merely a formality. So the influence and the power should come first before the title. People should validate your suitability for a role before you get nominated. It should be seen and it should be evident. And this is what we're going to talk about briefly. Some of the ways in which you can do this, for example, it is to, for example, you can learn how you can project yourself, how you can even project your voice, for example. Project your voice with dignity and demonstrate confidence in your ideas. Now, note that dignity is not pride. Note that confidence is not egocentrism. There's a huge difference. And this is very important to understand. Now, one way in which to distinguish between dignity and pride is to notice the way in which you express yourself, for example. Right? So, how do you express your ideas? Right? There are people who believe that they know so much, that they know a lot, that they know too much. And these people feel that knowing too much and having the qualifications and the experiences and perhaps the qualities, knowing too much, in essence, that knowing too much is what qualifies them. But it may also turn out that these people who know too much may be the worst leaders. Why I say so, and the reason why I say so, right, is because when people who know too much get into leadership roles or get the platforms to lead, right, when these people are given the platforms, they no longer listen because they know already. And that becomes a problem because they won't be in tune with the needs of the situation or the needs of the people who they will be serving, right? So notice yourself, observe yourself. How do you express your ideas? Is what you say about showcasing how intelligent you are, the extent to which you feel that you are better than others. Is it about making yourself feel better than others? Or it's a selfless act of expressing an idea that you have. This is dignity. A selfless act of expressing an idea that you have. Let's define confidence. Let's redefine confidence. Confidence is believing in your worth and being aware that the inner critic is that which you should always transcend. That inner critic. It's not about being better than others. It is about overcoming your own inner critic. That's pure confidence. That's real confidence. Egocentrism, on the other hand, is about being above others, showing how much you're better than others. So it's totally different from confidence. And then the next question, are you principled? So being principled doesn't mean that you have to be formal. And, it doesn't mean that you have to be too formal, boring, and not too stylish. Right? I am emphasizing boring, I'm emphasizing formal, and I'm emphasizing being stylish because people miss these things. But these things actually contribute to charisma, building charisma, and it's an important skill, an important trait that you need to hone when you are influencing others. Charisma, right? Right. So let's go on. Let's continue talking about being principled. So being principled is about your authenticity. It's about your honesty, sticking to your values during critical and non-critical moments that will test these values. It's about encouraging, it's about having the courage, to accept what you can and what you cannot do. So power is not about being good at everything. I'm well skilled at this, so that automatically translates into power. Well, power, people mistake cohesion for power. Cohesion and power are two different things, you see. So you can be a cohesive person, you can be in a position of power, you can be in a position of authority, and people have to listen to what you say because you are the leader. And that is not influence. that is not good power, you see. So certain skills and attributes can definitely contribute, but they are not essential. So I talked about three things. I talked about dignity, I talked about confidence, and I talked about being principled. Finally, if you can unsee and unlearn leadership as a leader and follow a relationship, or the guy at the top of the hierarchy and his followers, you can meaningfully influence others. Influence is not coercion, it is not forceful. It is about engaging someone's way of thinking in a way that impacts the way they act and do things. So notice I emphasized engaging. This is where, right. So you can't exactly, you may use coercion and other methods to change someone's way of thinking, but leadership, ethical leadership doesn't work like that. People mistake, I don't know, people mistake the ability to use force, the ability to use coercion and leadership. They mistake it for leadership, but it's not leadership, you know. It's giving a bad name to leadership, really, in all honesty. Right. So that is very, very important to understand. Uh, so leadership is about a shared vision and a shared goal. When this is well articulated from the heart, when this is well articulated from the start in the message of what you're trying to achieve, then people will follow, because being a part of your cause or goal will also be personally meaningful to them. And this is how to create a psychologically safe space in which people can grow and realize their untapped potential. Thank you very, very much for staying until the end and for engaging in this session. I hope that it was beneficial for you. I hope that you had so many takeaways. I hope that you will continue to grow and that you will continue to reflect on today's learnings and apply them. And I hope that they will be useful for you as you continue to grow as a leader, as you continue to be more self aware and uh, build your dream too. Right? I hope that it has been beneficial for you. I wish you all the very best and all the very best of success as you lead and make the world a better place. Stay tuned. We're going to have another live coming up. Time management. I look forward to having you again. So tap the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, to stay tuned to more exciting content and grow in whatever you set out to do. So all the very best, and I look forward to engaging with you again soon. I look forward to receiving your comments again in the comment section to hear your thoughts and your reflections on the session that we just had. Thank you so much, and all the very best, and stay safe.